Ms. Kavanaugh, you appeared in our courtroom previously and tested 2 men as potential fathers of your 1-month-old son, Malcolm.
Yes, Your Honor.
Unfortunately, neither turned out to be his biological father.
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, today, you believe Malcolm's biological father is a good friend of your mother's, the defendant, Mr. Spence.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Spence, you're a friend of Ms. Kavanaugh's mother and say her daughter made several attempts to have sex with you. Then, after a lapse in judgment, you admit you did sleep with her. Now you say there's a chance you could be Malcolm's father. Ms. Kavanaugh.
Yes, Your Honor.
Your mother's friend?
Yes, Your Honor. I know how bad it sounds. It is bad. I started calling him up, asking for like rides, to the grocery store, to get stuff from my house, and subconsciously I was trying to seduce him. I was wearing inappropriate things around him.
And why were you doing this?
In all honesty, I was drinking a lot. And I don't know if I did it for a challenge or because I was wanting attention. It was just something that I did that was really stupid of me at the time.
And so was he just a friend of your mother's, or did you know whether or not he was intimate with your mother?
That I do not know of. I just know that they were really good friends. That's all I know.
Mr. Spence?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you enlighten the court on the nature of your relationship with Ms. Kavanaugh's mother?
It's like she said, we just friends. We've been friends since the first time we met.
So it was never a sexual relationship, ever?
No.
That was not that believable, but I'm gonna move on. So, how did you end up being in the position you were sleeping with your really good friend's daughter?
It was like she said, came over a couple of times. She was in inappropriate gear. The first time, I shunned it off. Second time, I said, hey, watch yourself. Third time, it's starting to look good. Fourth time, lapse in judgment, and here we are today.
Wow. So how many times were you intimate with her?
Once.
Just once?
Just once.
Just one time, Ms.
Your
Kavanaugh?
Honor, I do not believe it to be once. It was at least twice, but that's just how I remember it.
And now, we have Malcolm, 1 month old. And your mother's friend could be his biological father.
Yes, Your Honor.
So as you look at Malcolm, do you see Mr. Spence, any resemblance?
I see a little bit, but from being in court previously, I found out that you can't always go on looks at all.
Absolutely. So, when you found out you were pregnant, did Mr. Spence's name come to mind immediately?
No, Your Honor. It really was like, I thought Mr. Bowles was the dad. Well, after the court, I started thinking, well, he could be a possibility that Mr. Spence is the father. And I texted him, and I asked him, when was the last time we had sex? He told me it was the end of October.
And when was Malcolm born?
He was born July 9th.
So when you do the math on that, that's
Yes, Your Honor.
about the window of conception.
Yes, Your Honor.
I think we need to hear from your mother. Ma'am, please stand.
Oh, Your Honor.
Welcome back, Ms. Kavanaugh. I have to ask you, how did it feel to learn that your daughter was sleeping with your very good friend?
It was very devastating, just because the relationship was inappropriate. I felt betrayed. Actually, when we were together, all in the same room, I noticed them looking at each other a little differently.
You did?
Yeah, I knew my gut.
Woman's
told-
intuition.
Exactly. So I questioned each of them. They each denied that anything had happened. Then basically how I found out, one day Megan was angry with me and we had kind of a little tiff or whatever. It was kind of a big tiff, but when we did, she blurted out that you were right. And I did sleep with Ken.
Really?
He eventually did come clean and tell me